I never thought I'd be the type of guy to get blindsided like this. Jason and Emily had been together for almost 10 years. We got married pretty young, right out of college. I always thought we had a good thing going, solid, comfortable, predictable. Emily was a bit of a bitch sometimes, sure, but I loved her. She was fiery, sharp-tongued, and a little bit manipulative, but she was mine. Or at least I thought she was. Things started to feel a little off a few months ago, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. She was acting distant, canceling plans last minute, and her phone was glued to her hand more than usual. I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd brush it off with some snarky comment about how I was paranoid or need to lighten up. Honestly, I figured she was just stressed at work. She's a nurse, and her job's always hectic. I told myself to cut her some slack. But then came the night I found out everything was a lie. I was home late one night, working on some bills, and I noticed her phone buzzing repeatedly on the kitchen table. She wasn't home yet. She was supposed to be at her sister, but her phone kept lighting up. Normally, I wouldn't have paid much attention, but that night I just felt compelled to check. It's fucked up, I know. I hesitated, my stomach knotting up, but finally I grabbed her phone. What I saw made my blood run cold. There was a string of messages, explicit, flirtatious, a lot of "can't wait to see you," "missed you today," and even some photos of her in bed with someone else. My wife, my Emily, was screwing some guy. The worst part, his name was Dan, her coworker from her hospital. I didn't know what to feel at first: anger, shock, hurt, like my world was crashing down in slow motion. How could she do this, after everything? I mean, I'd seen her flirt, but I never thought she'd actually cheat. And with someone so close to her, someone from her work. It felt like a punch in the gut. I stared at the screen for what felt like forever, my mind racing. I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew she'd lie her way out of it. So I did what I thought was best. I stayed quiet that night, letting her come home, pretending everything was normal. But I knew the truth now. It wasn't just flirting, she was actively cheating on me. And I had no idea how to handle it. This wasn't some silly fight, this was betrayal on a level I'd never expected from Emily. Now I was stuck with a million questions. How long? How many times? Why her? Why me? And most importantly, what the hell do I do now? The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept circling back to those messages, that foe, her lying in bed with some guy I barely knew. I couldn't believe she had been sneaking around behind my back all this time, and I'd been so blind to it. I kept asking myself, how long has this been going on? Was it just last night, or had it gone on for weeks? I was furious, but I was also crushed, like my entire sense of stability had shattered in an instant. I didn't want to jump to conclusions right away, so I decided I needed to see her. I waited until she left. For work, then I went into her phone again, searching for more clues. I found a whole bunch of messages, flirty, intimate, and full of promises. There were even some exchanged during our supposed date nights, texts that proved she'd been lying to me for months. I felt a sick feeling in my stomach, like I'd been punched in the gut all over again. It was more than just a betrayal. It was a total blow to my self-esteem. She made me feel like I wasn't enough, and for what? A quick fuck with some coworker. I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't let her keep lying, not after what I'd seen. So I called her at work, telling her I needed to talk. When she finally showed up that evening, I was already waiting in the living room, staring at her like I was ready to explode. She looked annoyed, defensive. The moment she saw my face, her lips pressed into a thin line. She knew she'd been caught, and I could see the instant panic flickering in her eyes. I didn't bother with beating around the bush. I threw the phone at her and said, "Explain. Tell me what the hell is going on." She looked at the phone, then back at me, rolling her eyes and scoffing. "Oh, please, you're overreacting as usual. That's just some stupid flirtation, nothing serious." Her tone was bitchy, like I was bothering her with my questions. I couldn't believe she was acting so dismissive, so careless about everything she'd done. I told her I saw everything, that I knew she'd been cheating for months, and I wanted the truth. Her eyes narrowed and she snapped, "You don't know what you're talking about. I was just talking to him, it's no big deal. You're being paranoid like always." I felt my blood boiling. How could she lie so easily? How could she pretend like nothing was wrong? I told her she was full of shit, that I wasn't stupid, and I'd had enough of her bullshit. That's when she finally snapped back at me saying I was controlling and jealous, that I didn't trust her, and that I was the one ruining everything. She said she needed space, that she was going to see her sister for a few days. I could see she was trying to gaslight me, make me the bad guy, but I didn't care. I'd seen enough. I knew the truth now. That night I sat alone, feeling like I'd been punched in the chest over and over again. The pain was sharp, deep, and persistent. I thought about everything, our life together, the plans we made, the future I thought we had. All of it was gone. How could she have done this to me, to us? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and completely lost. I couldn't sleep, kept replaying the confrontation in my head, trying to find some way to fix it or make sense of it all. But deep down, I knew there was no fixing what was broken. The trust was shattered, and I was left with a choice I didn't want to face. Do I fight for her, or do I walk away from everything? The answer was already obvious. I just didn't want to admit it yet. The days that followed were a blur. I was stuck in this weird limbo, half in denial, half furious. Every time I tried to focus on work or even just to breathe, her face kept popping into my mind, her sneering at me, dismissing me like I was nothing. I kept replaying that confrontation, every word she said, every lie she spat out. Honestly, I was furious enough to want to burn the whole house down, but what kept me going was the need to understand. How could she do this? How could someone I loved, who said she cared about me, betray me so easily? It felt like I'd been punched by 100 different fists at once. I started digging for more evidence, just to be sure I wasn't losing my mind. I checked her emails, her social media, anything that might give me a clue about how long this had been going on, who else was involved. I found more messages, nothing overly incriminating beyond what I'd already seen, but enough to make me realize this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. She planned it, maybe even for months. Every day I saw her at work, I imagined her sneaking off, laughing with him, feeling this sick secret thrill. It made me want to vomit. Meanwhile, Emily was still acting like she was the victim. She kept calling me paranoid, accusing me of snooping, of not trusting her. That bitch was good at spinning her web of lies. She'd throw in some tears, pretend to be hurt, and say she was trying to fix everything, but I knew better. I saw through her bullshit. I knew she was lying, just like she lied about everything else. I started thinking about the kind of person she really was, bitchy, manipulative, and selfish. She always had a way of turning things around to make herself look innocent, even when she was clearly the one at fault. One night, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I called her at her sister's house just to hear her voice. When she picked up, she was cold, dismissive. She told me she was staying there for a few days to clear her head and that I should stop bothering her. I snapped, telling her I knew everything, that I wasn't going to be played like a fool anymore. I told her I didn't know if I could ever trust her again, and that if she thought she could get away with this, she was dead wrong. That's when she finally lost her temper. She yelled at me, called me controlling, insecure, and accused me of being jealous of her having sex with Dan. She said I was the one ruining everything, not her. That hurt worse than anything else. To hear her say I was jealous, like I was the one at fault for feeling betrayed. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat there, staring at the ceiling, feeling an icy numbness take over. I wondered what I'd done wrong, how I missed all the signs, how I was supposed to trust her again after this. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut one last time, and I had no idea how to pick myself up. All I knew was that I couldn't keep living like this, not knowing if she'd do it again or if I was just some fool she was stringing along. In that moment, I started thinking about what I really wanted. Was I going to fight for this marriage, or was I going to cut my losses? I knew I needed to be honest with myself. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The trust was broken beyond repair, and I didn't see any way back to normal. But part of me still hoped I was wrong, that maybe she'd come back, say she'd been stupid, that she loved me. Deep down, I knew that was wishful thinking. Still, I waited, hoping she'd change her mind, that she'd come home and admit she screwed up. That's when I realized how much I'd been blinded by love, by hope, by the idea that we'd always be together. But love doesn't survive betrayal like this. Not really. And at that moment, I knew I'd have to make a choice about what comes next. I just didn't want to believe it yet. I wasn't ready to give up on us, but I also wasn't stupid enough to think she'd just come crawling back and everything would go back to normal. No, I was learning that sometimes the truth isn't pretty, and the only way to move on is to face it head on. Over the next few days, everything seemed to spiral further out of control. I couldn't focus at work, couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, cold, indifferent, betraying me behind my back. I kept asking myself how I had missed all the signs, how I'd been so blind to what she was really like. Emily always had a way of spinning her words, twisting situations to her favor, and frankly, I was starting to think I'd been caught in her web of lies for years. One afternoon, driven by this mix of rage and heartbreak, I decided to follow her. I needed to see for myself. Was she really staying with her sister, or was she hiding somewhere else? I didn't want to believe she'd go to such lengths to lie and manipulate, but I had to know. I parked a few blocks away from her sister's house and watched her come and go. What I saw surprised me more than anything. She was sneaking out late at night, meeting someone in a parking lot, then slipping into a cheap motel. The evidence was clear. She wasn't just lying, she was actively hiding her affair. That was the final nail in the coffin for me. I felt my stomach drop and a hot rage boiling up inside. I wanted to scream, to shake her and demand answers, but instead, I snapped a quick photo of her sneaking into the motel. I wanted to catch her in the act, show her that I wasn't stupid, that I knew everything. I stayed there a few minutes longer, feeling like I was about to lose my mind. The betrayal was so raw, so real. She'd lied to my face, and now I had proof that she'd been cheating literally behind my back. When I got back home, I couldn't sit still. I kept looking at the photo, at her face in that moment, so guilty, so caught. I thought about what I should do next. I knew I couldn't stay with her knowing she was out there, sneaking around, betraying everything we built. I was furious, but deep down I also felt this deep, aching sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But love doesn't mean ignoring the truth. And right now, the truth was staring me right in the face. I debated whether I should confront her again or just leave everything and walk away. Honestly, I didn't know if I had the strength to face her after what I'd seen. But I also knew that I couldn't pretend I didn't know anymore. The game was over. I was done pretending she was innocent, that she was just stressed or misunderstood. No, she was a cheater, a liar, and I couldn't trust her anymore. That realization hit me hard. I was finally starting to understand that sometimes love isn't enough to fix what's broken. Sometimes you just have to accept the truth and do what's best for yourself. That night I sat there with the evidence in my hand, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. I had come so close to losing everything, my marriage, my respect for myself, my peace of mind. And as I looked at that photo, I knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't keep pretending I was okay when I was. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing: my life was about to change forever. And I was finally ready to face it, no matter how much it hurt. The decision didn't come easy, but I knew deep down I couldn't stay silent anymore. The betrayal had cut too deep, and I needed to do something, anything, to reclaim what was left of my dignity. I waited until she was back home, and I confronted her again. This time I was colder, more calculated. I showed her the photo I'd taken, her sneaking into that dingy motel in the dead of night. Her face turned pale, and for a moment she just stared at it like she couldn't believe I'd caught her so completely. She tried to deny it at first, of course. "That's not what it looks like," she said, her voice trembling. "You're blowing things out of proportion. It's just a stupid mistake. It doesn't mean anything." Her lies spilled out fast, but I cut her off. "You think I'm stupid?" I snapped. "You're cheating on me, Emily. You're out there screwing some guy, lying to my face, and now you're trying to pretend it's no big deal. How long has this been going on? How many times? Don't lie to me anymore." She looked like she might cry, but her eyes were hard, like she was trying to push her feelings down. She finally broke, her voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I don't know. I was feeling trapped, stressed out, and he was there, and it was a mistake, okay? I was stupid, and I'm sorry." Sorry. That's all she had. Sorry wasn't enough. I felt the rage bubbling up again, but I also felt this crushing wave of sadness. I'd loved her so much, and now I was realizing that love wasn't enough to save us. I told her she needed to choose us or him. I couldn't keep living like this, not knowing the truth, not trusting her. I told her she had to leave. I couldn't do this anymore. Watching her try to justify herself, act like she was the victim, made me sick. I felt like I was losing my mind. How did I end up here? How did my wife turn into someone who would cheat, lie, and manipulate her way through everything? The aftermath was chaos. She packed her bags and left that night, slamming the door behind her, telling me I was overreacting, that she'd fix everything, that she still loved me. But I didn't believe her. I knew now that she'd been lying for months, maybe longer. That love I once felt was replaced by this hollow ache, this feeling of betrayal that wouldn't go away. I was angry at her, at myself, at the whole damn world. I wished I could turn back time, change everything, but that wasn't an option anymore. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on everything I'd lost, everything I'd gained, and what I really wanted. I realized I'd spent so long trying to hold on to a relationship built on lies that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be truly happy, to be respected. I made a decision. I'd file for divorce, cut ties with her, and start over. Not because I was weak, but because I knew I deserved better. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate me, someone who respected me enough to be honest. Looking back, I learned that the most painful betrayals often come from those we trust the most. But I also learned that sometimes you have to walk away to save yourself. Love isn't enough if it's not built on honesty. Trust is everything. And if someone crosses that line, it's on you to decide whether to fight for what's left or to let go. I chose to let go. It hurts like hell, but I know I'll eventually heal. And I hope anyone reading this understands. You can survive betrayal, but only if you're willing to be honest with yourself and do what's best for your own survival. It's been a few months now since she left, and honestly, at first I thought I'd never get over it. The anger, the heartbreak, the feeling that I'd been stupid for trusting her, all of it was like a heavy weight pressing on my chest every day. But time has a strange way of healing, even the deepest wounds. Slowly, I started to rebuild my life piece by piece. I got back into things I loved, going to the gym, reconnecting with friends, even taking up hobbies I'd pushed aside during our years together. The hardest part was facing the truth, that love, real love, is built on more than just feelings. It's built on trust, honesty, respect. Without those, even the strongest bond can crumble, and I learned that lesson the hard way. I don't hate her anymore, not exactly. I'm just disappointed. Disappointed that I let myself believe in something that was a lie all along, but I also see it as a kind of liberation. I no longer have to wake up every day wondering if the person I love is really with me or just pretending to be. I've started dating again, cautiously. It's funny, trust doesn't come easy now. Every new person I meet, I wonder if they're genuine or just another version of someone who could hurt me. But I also know I can't live in fear. I have to be open to love again, even if it's scarred and a little wary. I've realized that life is about taking risks, even after you've been hurt badly. The biggest thing I want anyone reading this to take away is that betrayal cuts deep, but it doesn't have to define you. You can survive heartbreak, betrayal, and lies, and come out stronger on the other side. It's about knowing your worth, trusting yourself to heal, and not allowing someone else's betrayal to keep you trapped in a past you can't change. I used to think I'd never trust again, but I do. Slowly, I am learning to open my heart again, cautiously, carefully, but with the hope that someday I'll find someone who truly respects and values me. And if there's one thing I've learned above all else, it's this: never ignore the signs. Never let someone lie and manipulate you without standing up for yourself. Because once you lose trust, it's damn hard to get back. But it's possible to move forward, rebuild, and find happiness again, even after betrayal on this scale. That's what I want everyone out there to know. No matter how bad it gets, there's always a way out. You just have to be brave enough to take it.